Betraying the job that I had once prayed for. Yes, that is true. I did once pray for the job that I currently have and the one that I'm going to complain about because I am a top tier complainer. So, if we flash back to my time in college, and I bet a lot of people will be able to relate to this, like, you're not really picky. You'll take what you can get, and if you can land something pretty good, you're going to be pretty hyped. So, in my senior year is when I had accepted the offer to my current job, the one that I've had for the last few years now. And I'm not even gonna lie, like I was freaking hyped when I landed that job. And I was hyped because, I mean, you're young, you don't have a lot of money. So now that you have the opportunity to get some stable money coming in, of course you're gonna be hyped. I came from not a super financially well background, not terribly poor either. I would say like upper lower class probably. But I was hyped and I was ready. I put my head down and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get worked. I know that it's gonna be tough, but this is a good learning experience. This is my way as a foot in the door. And this is an opportunity that I can't pass up. This is an opportunity that a lot of people would kill for. So fast forward to today, a few years later, the hype has died down. The honeymoon phase is over. And I guess we'll start with constants. One of the constants is that I have never become ungrateful. And I try to remind myself how grateful I actually am to have this job. And, we can kind of use that as a disclaimer to start. In no way, shape, or form am I saying that like, oh, this job is terrible. I hate this job. They never treated me right or anything like that. This job has opened the door for me. It's given me opportunities and it's really purchased me the freedom to be able to even complain about something like this. So let's just get that out of the way that I am 100% not ungrateful. But I will say that as the years have gone by and I've done more and more work for this large company, I have fallen into like the cycle of like feeling stale and unfulfilled, which is something that you've probably heard over and over again. But if you've been in the depths of it, you realize how true that is. Some days you're just feeling okay, but like some weeks when you're just doing the work, doing the busy work, sending messages back and forth, and you're feeling like you're solving problems that are so minuscule in the grand scheme of things, it can kind of suck. It's honestly pretty butt. And I honestly hate the fact that I feel that way because, like I said, like I was once in a position where I had prayed for this job. And I know that there are thousands, maybe even millions of other people that, wish they had the same opportunity as me. So part of me feels a little bit bad for, sitting here and complaining about this kind of thing. I also don't want to like shy away because just because somebody has shorter stick than you or somebody's in a worse position than you doesn't really mean that everyone doesn't have their own set of problems. And I think that this is a prevalent enough problem that it's worth talking about. So as I mentioned before, I did a lot of thinking about this position that I'm currently in, where I'm just like, I'm super grateful for the job. Food is taken care of. There's always food on the table. There's a roof over my head. I have the financial means to take care of myself, yet I continuously feel more and more unfulfilled. And on top of that, more tired, more depressed. So I thought a lot about this predicament. I really sat down with myself and was like, why am I feeling this way? Not so long ago, you were super happy, super grateful, and super excited. You get to start your big boy job and move to this cool city and kind of like have a clean start. And not so long ago, now I'm, back in the dumps, back in the loop, and questioning a lot of things. I think some of it is just coming of age. I think once the rainbows and butterflies and whatever wear off, you kind of start to see a little bit more clearly and you start to realize that, okay, not everything is as perfect as it seems. I think that's just a universal axiom that kind of applies to a lot of things. But after sitting with myself for a long time, I really started to realize that there's nothing wrong with feeling this way. And it's not that you're ungrateful. I think those two should be decoupled from one another. There's a difference between feeling still and wanting a change of pace and being ungrateful. If you know what you got, if you can appreciate what you got, you're not throwing the opportunity away, then I will not classify you as ungrateful. But I think that as time goes, if you're not changing, if you're not learning, and if you're feeling content with where you are without making any adjustments, it's either one of two things. You either found your absolute perfect state where you want to be, and if that's where you're happy and there's literally nothing you can list that you're discontent with, then fine, so be it. However, I think that is significantly more rare, and I think that it's more likely to be the other point which is that you're becoming complacent. And if you want to stay comfortable, if you want to be where you are, who am I to tell you not to? But from my personal experience, I think that all this has been this transition from feeling super ecstatic to feeling more stale is just a natural thing. I've always been the kind of person to aim for more, shoot for more. And I think that after college, my target became a little bit more blurred. And I think this is a pretty common experience where once graduating college, you don't really have a set target to aim for. When you grow up and you're going through school and your parents are guiding you, you have a target. Your target is get good grades, make good attendance, maybe go to college or pursue some trade, do something, right? And then land a job. And then that's where the script ends. From there, nobody really tells you what to do. That's the point that you kind of have to pick up the slack, you pick up the controller, and you figure out what you want to do. My target moving, and I think that a lot of people experience this thing where they start trying to find where they should pin the target. For some people, that is, starting a family, getting married. For other people, that is traveling. For some other people, that is pursuing other hobbies and creative interests. And while you're searching for that, you're going to have to go through a lot of trial and error. I have, and I am. You try some things, you might like it, you might not. You might like it for a short amount of time, and then you realize that, oh, this is not something that I actually want to do or something that I actually enjoy doing. But you kind of just have to keep trying, right? And I think that's where I'm headed with this conversation is that this staleness that I'm feeling at work is really just the result of, hey, you need to change your focus to something else, right? Not change careers, but find something outside of your career that really keeps you going. That depression, that tiredness, that taking work home from you, either physically, mentally, or both, I think that is really just a result of, hey, like you've oriented too much of your value to your occupation to the point where it's all you think about. And the way your occupation goes, whether you've had a good day at work, maybe you got some good referrals, or you made a lot of progress on a project and everyone's giving you kudos, or you had a bad day, you screwed something up, maybe your boss is on you or whatever. If you really take that to heart and that comes home with you, your value is way too coupled with your occupation, right? And that applies to more things than just occupation. There are many different ways that people tie their value. And it's not saying that you shouldn't have your value tied to anything. It's more of a matter of you get to dictate where you tie your value. Some people want to tie their value to their occupation. You might own a company, you might be running a startup. If that's your bread and butter, if that's your baby, go ahead, right? That's your thing. Some people tie their value to money. Now, this one you got to be a little careful with. Money is a very freeing asset, if you want to call it that. I don't know if I call it that because it technically depreciates in value, but either way, right? You can tie your value to money. Once again, be careful with that. You can tie your value to family, right? Friends. But I think that as I get older and as I'm starting to realize that this job and probably any job in my field is not going to bring me the fulfillment that I hope for, kind of exploring new ways that I can tie my value. And I think this YouTube channel is going to be a testament to that because one of the main reasons why I started this is because I was really trying to rejuvenate the lost creativity that I had once. I feel like my job sucked a lot of color out of me. I think corporate America will really do that to you. And I remember back in high school and when I was a kid, I used to love video editing. I used to love playing video games. I used to love, traveling, taking photos, short films, whatnot, right? Just creative videoing, anything digital in that sense. I once used to have a passion for that. I used to go out on the weekends and like call my friend up at 7 a.m. It's like, hey, you want to go take pictures? Hey, you want to go help me film clips for this film I'm making? I used to love that. Even when there was no money being made, even if my films literally sucked, even if I knew nothing about cameras, I still enjoyed it. It was fun to me. And I think that I've spent the last few years really hyper focusing on my career and my studies and setting up my financial foundation. And that's fine, right? If you're leaving college or entering your young adult phase and that's what you want to focus on, I don't think it's a bad focus. It's the same thing I was focusing on, right? And if that's what you need to prioritize, then do that. But there will come a point where you ask yourself, am I really happy with my life? Once you hit 25, 30, 40, however old you become, you run out of more and more time. It's not something that you want to be questioning way later because it's a question that comes up if you really just ask yourself. And if you haven't found the answer, or you actually just haven't done any actions to answer the question, that's kind of on you, right? It takes a little bit of introspection, takes a little bit of time, and takes a little bit of soul digging, but the question will come up and you got to answer it. And so I think that at this current moment in my life, I'm really going through this transitional phase where I'm kind of shifting my focus away from career and work and trying to reallocate some of it to other passions in my life. And with that comes, a little bit of soul searching, really experimenting with things and finding what those passions are. And like I said many times in this video, there's nothing wrong with reshifting this focus. It's not like I did anything wrong by focusing on my career at the time, and it's not like I'm doing anything wrong now by coming to a realization and wanting something a little bit different. Now, how much you reallocate is really up to you. And I think that there are smart reallocations and more risky ones, but I can't really say anything's wrong. Personally, I don't think I could see myself fully giving up corporate life for now because, like, sure, I'm financially better than I was when I left college, but I wouldn't say that I'm at retirement. I don't got that kind of bread to be doing whatever the hell I want. But at the same time, I have enough where I can afford to let off the gas a little bit and try to find things that make me happy in life. I have some clues. I don't have it all figured out. And honestly, you probably won't ever have it all figured out. And that's fine. I think that a lot of times people hyper focus on, and I'm guilty of this as well, setting a target and hitting that target. And once they hit that target, they achieve the next goalpost. But it's never really that clean and it's never really that smooth. Most of the time, you set the target and you start going for it and you hit a bump, you hit a plateau, you hit a setback, you get redirected, whatever. It's messy and that's fine. If you ever feel like you're just stuck, you're stale, life's not moving, life is still, you come home and you do absolutely nothing and you bring your career with you, or you just feel like in this endless cycle of wishing that there is a change but not knowing what it is, you just got to take the risk, man. If it fails, you got to be okay with that. A lot of times people are super afraid of failing, hyper afraid of failing, I would say. I definitely am. And I let the fear of failing or the fear of being judged or the fear of something coming towards me, some big train just absolutely blindsiding me, and let that fear just hold me back from trying, hold me back from doing something. And every year, the clock keeps ticking. I get older and older, and you just sit here wishing that you did something, but then never actually doing something. You need to make that switch. I already talked about the feelings that made me realize that I needed to do a redirection in my focus. If you feel any of this, don't keep lying to yourself because you're really only doing yourself an injustice. If you feel that urge to switch, to reshift your focus, to do something, then you know you have to start looking. Don't waste any more time. So that's where I'll leave this video, kind of as like an intro to the deep talks on this channel. I have a lot of topics I want to talk about, but I would really appreciate if anyone could leave a topic that they want me to talk about. I'm definitely not the most wise person in the world, but I'm definitely wiser than I was 5 years ago, and that's always a goal that you should aim for, comparing yourself to yourself. I'd love to hear people's thoughts, people older than me, younger than me, same age as me. So if you enjoyed this rant, let me know in the comments just your thoughts or any more topics you want to talk about. All right, I'm leaving.